Chapter 5 Part 1 This Bastard. As their colleague fell, another guy, unaware of the situation, raised his fists. He thought Taehyun's attack was just an accident. Stop! The leader intervened in his actions. The skills didn't seem to work. With a confident look, he asked. Hey! You are an awakened person, right? 3 curse-type skills overlapped. If the skills had worked, Taehyun could have been lying on the ground. For a C-rank awakened, he has very keen senses. Different from his fallen colleagues, he wasn't a guy who couldn't detect the opponent's strength. Is that really possible? Is it really true? Jae-young stammered with an expression of disbelief at the leader's words. Taehyun had no intention of answering. You talk a lot. Unlike the guy who was nervous about being an awakened person, his fists showed no mercy. He strengthened his fist with stone skin and struck his face again. Thud. The sound of his nose being flattened was an added bonus. The second thug couldn't even scream and fainted. With a body that has not undergone any weight training. Furthermore, even though it got downgraded to an E-ranked ability, the power was still this high. Stone skin. It's a much better ability than I expected. Skills varied greatly in power depending on the awakened one's rank, proficiency, and physical stats. If Baehyuksu had been a bit smarter. If he hadn't underestimated Taehyun just because he was a non-awakened person. He probably wouldn't have lost so easily. The same applied to these guys in front of him. Hyung. Jae-young, let's talk later. Taehyun's gaze turned to the leader who was left alone. 2 of his colleagues had fallen. Despite that, his expression was much more relaxed than expected. The C-rank awakened guy's skill is bleeding, a curse-type skill. Even though he had confirmed that the skill didn't work, he maintained his poker face. Could there be a hidden ace? That was the only attitude he could assume. Suddenly, the leader whistled and applauded. Impressive. Even if they were weak, to bring down 2 guys with 1 hit. Did you awaken a useful skill? See for yourself. Although there was still some time left in the skill's duration, there was no point in dragging out the conversation needlessly. As Taehyun reluctantly revealed himself, the leader's face twitched. Hey, do you know what this is? He showed the ring in his hand. 3 gold skulls glistened in his hand. Taehyun's expression subtly changed as he examined the pattern on the ring. Malevolent Guild. An infamous and ruthless guild with many awakened ones affiliated with it. The ring in front of them was a symbolic item that indicated membership in the Malevolent Guild. Come to think of it, those Malevolent Guild guys. Did they also engage in activities targeting minors? The Players Association already has their hands filled just by hunting monsters. These guilds played a significant role as to why the association had to work with the police and military for security. However, the opposition here wasn't even a player but just a back-alley thug. For a guy like him to have something like that. It looks like you know what this is. Yes, our Backcross is affiliated with the Malevolent Guild. His face grimaced at the guy's words. He had thought of them as some back-alley thugs, but their connection to the Malevolent Guild changed the game. Their plan to extract some money and be done with it had gone awry. Taehyun's mind raced. No need to be scared. You didn't think we would do this without any kind of support? The leader, thinking that Taehyun was scared since he didn't respond, regained his arrogance. We're fearless wolves, you know. If we set our minds to it, taking care of your whole family would be a piece of cake. That wasn't an entirely false statement. Right now, these guys were still quiet as they hadn't started their full-scale activities yet, but it had happened frequently in the past. If things go wrong, it could disrupt my plans. Most importantly, not only Taehyun but also his aunt's family could be in danger. The guys who were active in the Malevolent Guild were at least C-rank players, with many of them considered skilled within their ranks. I don't have that level of strength yet. Taehyun made up his mind. Just then, the leader signaled for him to approach. Taehyun walked over without hesitation. And then, bam! His fist, reinforced by stone skin, struck the leader's face. I'm going to leave you in such a state that you won't be able to regain your senses for at least a few months. The leader seemed to have undergone some training, unlike the others, as he withstood Taehyun's one-sided assault while still being conscious. Thud. 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 Whack. Crack. Crunch. Stepping on, breaking, smashing. He's got quite the physique. Someone might even mistake him for a tank. Even after 30 seconds of relentless beating, the leader didn't lose consciousness, leaving Taehyun in awe. However, that was the last straw. Hey, can we talk, using W words? Isn't that what you W want? Pointing towards the envelope he had received from Jae-young. Several of his teeth had already been shattered. He forced himself to barely open his mouth, just to point at the envelope. Taehyun, seizing the envelope, threw it to Jae-young. And then, he stomped on him again. Thud, 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 crack. I'd love to break his vocal cords, but in that case, it would draw even more attention towards him. It was a moment that required a clear boundary. Taehyun left the leader, who had fainted, and turned to the other two. The injuries on their body were quite evident, almost laughably so. Skill deactivation in progress. As Taehyun completed his work, the skill was deactivated. He felt dizzy from the excessive use of mana. Phew. I think this should be enough. Looking at the three men sprawled in misery, Taehyun smiled with satisfaction. Of course, he didn't forget to take the ring from the leader's hand. He examined the gleaming ring from every angle. Bingo! It was undoubtedly authentic. The ring itself didn't have any special abilities, but being a symbol indicating membership in the Malevolent Guild made it an item that many coveted. Selling it privately at an auction would fetch at least 20 million won. While Taehyun was content with the unexpected windfall, Jae-young began to take a step back. This was a slum area with no CCTV cameras. The only one who witnessed all of this was his cousin, Jae-young. A thorough crackdown on crime was necessary for it to be a perfect crime. Jae-young, where are you going? We need to get rid of these guys. Hyung. Jae-young, feeling a sense of dread, unknowingly trembled. What you saw today, is it a secret from aunt and uncle? Taehyun said as he put the ring in his pocket. All right. I understand. Anne. Taehyun placed his hand on Jae-young's shoulder. How about you and I work together? It was the moment when Jae-young's life, which was about to take the wrong path, changed. Chapter 5 Part 2 Dinner didn't start until after 9 o'clock. It was because his aunt and uncle came home late. The small dining table and modest side dishes created a slightly awkward atmosphere, as it had been a while since the four of them had dined together. You left school early? Aunt, who placed kimchi stew on the table, asked with a worried expression. Yes. I wasn't feeling well. Is something wrong? No, it's nothing. I was just working on assignments for the past few days. Still. Oh, it's okay. Instead of worrying about that, you should give the child some more food. Taehyun's uncle, who had been silently observing, said, while serving Taehyun an egg roll. At your age, eating more will help you recover faster. Yes, I'll eat well. Taehyun smiled and took a bite of the egg roll. He had informed the school in advance. He had told the teacher that he needed a few days off due to not feeling well, and the teacher had reluctantly approved it, considering he had fought with 3 students in one day. That's right. Rest for at least 3 days. The aunt said with a slightly worried expression as she reluctantly let go of her concerns. He wouldn't need to go to school for a while after the 3 days, but Taehyun answered that he would, indeed, do so. And Jae-young. Aunt looked at Jae-young with more scrutinizing eyes than she did Taehyun. Yes? How nice it is to have a meal together after such a long time, isn't it? Continue coming home early from now on. Oh, all right. Jae-young, feeling guilty, answered in a hesitant voice. Watching that, Taehyun smiled contentedly and took a big spoonful of food. It was a peaceful dinner after a long time. Asterisk 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 in a small room. Huff, huff. Sweat continuously fell from Taehyun's body as he did push-ups. 8, 9. He fell short of the target count and let out a sigh. My stamina really is a mess. He had started serious weight training when he turned 20. It was around that time that he had come to terms with being a non-awakened one and decided to do whatever he could. I won't waste any more time. Taehyun got up, reminiscing about the past and determined to make amends. This time, as he was about to start squats, someone knocked on the door. Hyung, it's me. Taehyun stopped the squat and opened the door. Jae-young stood there with a puzzled expression. What? Are we going to be okay? Seeing Jae-young, who couldn't even make eye contact with him, Taehyun chuckled. As long as you keep your mouth shut, nothing will happen. The three guys who had claimed to be Backcross members had been left in a nearby alley and an ambulance had been called. By now, they should be receiving medical treatment, so their lives shouldn't be in danger. Of course, they won't be conscious for a while. But. Taehyun patted Jae-young on the shoulder again, looking at him, who was very nervous, unlike himself. Hwang Jae-young, don't worry, and just remember what I said. Yeah. If you have time, do some stamina exercises. With that, Taehyun closed the door. After dealing with the ring, I should quit the gym. It was worth a whopping 20 million won. Looking at the ring on the desk, a smile appeared on his face. In the past, it had been the gate break that had plunged him into sadness. But this time, he felt as excited, like a child about to go on a picnic. Asterisk 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 time passed quickly. April 4th. Taehyun was sitting in a cafe near Jeongguk High School, sipping on a coffee. Since he wasn't going to school, he wore a casual outfit with jeans and a hoodie. Sip while enjoying his coffee, Taehyun opened the status window. Name, Kim Taehyun. Age, 19. Grade, E. Strength, 3, Stamina, 6, Speed, 5, Mana, 10. Fatigue, 10% remaining mana. October 10th. Skills, Predation, 1%, can prey on the desired target. Mana required, 5 Stone Skin, E, can enhance the body. Mana required, 1. He had sold the 3 skull ring at an auction for 20 million won. After setting aside 10 million as an emergency fund, he used the remaining 10 million to upgrade his status window. It was much more detailed than the normal status window. Spending money could allow different appearances, but for now, this form was the most satisfactory. Above all, it allowed him to check his physical abilities. Taehyun's mana was 10, which was nearly twice as high as the average for an E-rank awakened. At this level, I could be considered a D-rank mage-type awakened. Just when he was starting to wonder if mage-type skills could also be absorbed. Rumble, 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 crash. The cafe began to shake. Earthquake. Everyone, get out. Elderly and children first. The cafe and the area around it became chaotic in an instant. It wasn't an earthquake but rather an A-rank gate break, but regular people wouldn't know that. It looks like it's finally starting. Taehyun emptied his coffee cup and got up from his seat. It was the beginning of a busy day. Chapter 6 Part 1 Seoul, Gwangjin-gu. 3 players from the association were using skills in front of the gate, which was the source of the earthquake. A translucent barrier surrounded the blazing red gate. It was a B-rank skill called Barrier. It was a skill that could confine a C-rank monster all day long if it was replenished with mana. But the user, Lee Jae-jun, didn't look pleased. There are too many of them. He bit his lip and focused on the trembling barrier. They had been dispatched as soon as the alarm went off. However, there were still quite a few monsters that had come out of the gate. The expanded barrier was still in a precarious situation due to the monster's attacks. If his subordinates hadn't cast buffs along on him, it could have crumbled at any moment. Then, another subordinate, who had completed the measurement, shouted. Team leader. Gate measurement complete. What's the rank? In response to his subordinate's shout, Lee Jae-jun hastily asked, please, let it not be A rank. If it had been A rank, there's nothing they could have done with their strength. It's B rank. Shit. But why are there so many monsters? There were dozens of monsters that could be seen at a glance. Even if they replenished their mana with potions, they would reach their limit in about an hour. Why is there a gate break all of a sudden after being quiet for 10 years? Gate break, unlike when monsters keep pouring out in dungeons that have already been created, it is a phenomenon in which gates connected to the abyss directly open. If a gate break is not prevented in time, a dungeon could be formed using the monster's unique abilities. There are dozens of dungeons currently existing in South Korea alone, but the last gate break happened 10 years ago. It was only natural for the 5-year veteran of the association, Lee Jae-jun, to swear. Where's the headquarters support unit? I've been trying to get in touch with them, but the communication has been difficult, possibly due to radio interference. Once things start to go wrong, it seems like there's no end to it. Lee Jae-jun let out a small sigh. I'll use my barrier skill to block, so go request an A-rank player immediately. Are there any A-rank players currently in the queue? They're all in the abyss. You handle that yourself. If there aren't any, at least request support from nearby guilds. This subordinate has been in the association for only a year now. Given the foolish appearance, Lee Jae-jun's scolding was expected. Nevertheless, the subordinate's gaze, as if frozen in place, was directed towards Lee Jae-jun's back. Hey! Didn't you hear me say to hurry? Lee Jae-jun turned his head toward the gate, sensing an eerie presence. And then, oh my God! He was proud of himself for not being easily startled by most things as a player. But his mouth was wide open. The gate beyond the barrier was radiating a sinister energy. It was because of the massive figure that had just appeared at that gate. Giant ogre? He had a physique which easily exceeded 5 meters in height. Just the club he was holding seemed to be at least 2 meters long. Amidst Lee Jae-jun's overwhelming astonishment at the size, the monster completely emerged from the gate. Ha! With a fierce gust of wind, he swung his club. Kwang! Thud thump! The skill that had withstood countless attacks from monsters up until now was starting to crack. Team leader. The subordinates who were casting buffs from the side had a look of despair on their faces. Lee Jae-jun was no different. An A-rank monster, the giant ogre. The moment its club swung down once again. Squish. The barrier broke without much strength. Monsters pour out in all directions. Oh, no! The giant ogre swung his club over Lee Jae-jun's head, who was in despair. Taehyun stopped walking. He arrived at the location he had marked in advance. It was a narrow alley located about 20 minutes away from Jeonkook High School. A sign at the entrance indicated that there was construction going on, and Taehyun was the only person around. Even so, the screams echoing from the surroundings were vividly audible. I should head over there soon. A gate break occurred near the Gwangjin district office in the past. The initial power measurement was B rank. However, a rare case of being upgraded to rank A occurred with the appearance of a monster called the Giant Ogre. Rank advancement due to a gate break that occurred after 10 years. A rare occurrence happened twice, and in the previous life, numerous casualties had to occur before they could seal the dungeon. Back then, it was the rank A player, An Hyun-soo, who had sealed the gate. While Taehyun was lost in thought, his cell phone rang. It was Hwang Jae-young. Oh, Jae-young. Did you meet them? Yes. I just met them. But, is it really okay to use the skill? I told you before, using it can save that person. But, Jae-young, do you trust me? Well, yes. Okay, then. Just don't make any mistakes and give it your best shot. It shouldn't be too hard to move that person since they're quite skinny. Alright, I'll try. Good. Go for it. With that, Taehyun hung up the phone. For a guy who hung out with a member of Backcross, I have a lot to worry about. Jaeyoung's fear was related to using a skill on civilians. Even though he might appear immature, Jaeyoung possessed a D-rank skill called sleepwalking. It allowed him to briefly put his target to sleep. Well, getting kidnapped is better than death, I guess. The potential target of the skill that could lead to illegal possession was Choi Naeung. Her fate was to die while helping people. If I could change fate, that would be better. In this life, Taehyun didn't want to lose the people around him. It's about time, like the saying goes, even a tiger or an orc would come when called. Chwike chwike. Over here. Chwike. Human smell. Familiar sounds echoed from the corner of the alley. It was an E-rank monster, an orc. Despite their low intelligence, they could mimic human language. Each individual orc was weak, but they were known for traveling in groups. Just as expected. Following the first one, 2 more orcs appeared. Welcome. My orc comrades. Taehyun greeted the orcs with a grin. It was the first time in all his past lives that monsters felt so friendly. For now, I should conserve my magic power a bit. Taehyun hadn't fully grasped the cooldown time for the skill Predation. He couldn't afford to waste it on these small fries and risk missing the big catch. Thud thud thud. Stone skin was activated, and Taehyun's body became tougher. While his movements might become a bit sluggish, he could withstand several of the orcs' attacks. Chwike, chwike. Human. Kill. Just then, one of the orcs, who had appeared within a meter's range, swung a club that was less than a meter long. Swoosh. Taehyun leaned back, easily avoiding the blow. He thrust his fist into the orc's chin. Thwack. The orc's jaw was broken with just a single punch. This skill is really good. Chapter 6 Part 2 No matter how hard Taehyun had trained his physical body in his previous life, taking on 3 E-rank monsters simultaneously was something he couldn't even dream of. Speaking of E-rank monsters, the reason for this is their ferocity, which is on par with most formidable predators. Dealing with them without adequate skills or overwhelming attack abilities would be pure foolishness. However, Thump, Drew, and NK, Taehyun took the opportunity to hit the orc on the back and tilted its head, as if questioning why it hadn't fallen. Still, it must hurt a bit. Crack! Taehyun grabbed the second orc's head and smashed it against the wall. The orc's skull caved in, and it met its demise. In the blink of an eye, he killed 2 orcs. The third orc, seeing its comrades fall, panicked and tried to flee. Its short legs were barely carrying it, but Taehyun had no intention of letting it go. Compassion is a luxury for monsters. Taehyun picked the orc's club, then hurled it with all his might. With a gruesome sound, the third orc's torso separated from its legs, and it fell lifeless. It was only then that Taehyun activated his unique skill, Predation. Unique skill Predation has been used. The target's life activity ceases, and mana is not expended. It was an unfamiliar message. Crimson mana enveloped the orc corpses. And then, thud. Thud. Thud thud. Thud thud thud. A small amount of mana was drained away as the 3 orcs disappeared without a trace. Successful complete predation of organisms. Recovering insufficient mana. As the message appeared, the corners of Taehyun's mouth lifted. Check status. Name, Kim Taehyun. Age, 19. Rank, E strength, 3 stamina, 6 speed, 5 mana, 10 fatigue, 15% remaining mana, 10 out of 10, skills, predation, 5%, can prey on the desired target. Mana required, 5 stone skin, E, strengthens the body with stones surging from the skin. Mana required, 1 bingo. When devouring a deceased organism, there was no need for a separate cooldown or mana expenditure. Instead, the predation skill experience increased, and even the mana used for stone skin was replenished. He had spent 10 million won on an upgrade, but it was not visible in the status window. This might require some adjustments to the plan. Taehyun had initially planned to capture only 1 or 2 high-level monsters and leave the area, considering the risks of predation. But now, with the ability to replenish mana in this manner, his perspective had changed. It was precisely when Taehyun was about to call Jae-young again. Growl. A 2-meter-tall white wolf appeared, limping down the remaining alleyway. It was a D-rank monster, Silver Fawn. Taehyun put the smartphone he had half drawn out back into his pocket. He thought that it wouldn't be a big problem if he was a bit late in responding to messages. For now. He smirked. Thank you for the food. Taehyun's skill activated once again. Kwayu, C-rank is quite tough. Taehyun said, recalling the C-grade demon ogre that he had just defeated. The battle had been challenging enough that if the monster behind him had appeared a bit sooner, he would have had to use Predation. Nevertheless, he had chosen not to use it because the rewards for continuing as he was seemed too tempting. Successfully completed predation of a living organism. Mana replenished. The message didn't stop there. The auto-notification function he had set up constantly rang. The conditions have been met. Your rank is being readjusted. At last. The last time he checked, his predation experience level was at 70%. Due to the constant influx of monsters, he hadn't been able to check, but it was enough to fill the remaining experience. A moment later. Rank adjustment is complete. The long-awaited growth skill. It was the moment to confirm its truth. Taehyun opened the status window. Name, Kim Taehyun. Age, 19. Rank, D. Strength, 13, Stamina, 16, Speed, 15, Mana, 20. Fatigue, 55%. Remaining mana, 20/20. Skills, Predation, 0%, can prey on the desired target. Mana cost, 10 stone skin, D, strengthens the body with stones surging from the skin. Mana cost, 3 of course. Taehyun clenched his fist as he checked the status window. His rank as an awakened was now accompanied by the growth from predation. It was the moment when his hypothesis was confirmed. His physical attributes had also been readjusted to match his rank. Even with stone skin deactivated, it felt like strength was surging through his entire body. I should head towards Jaeyoung's direction soon. About an hour had passed since the gate break occurred. By now, A-rank players would have started hunting the monsters. At that time. Thud. 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 Accompanied by the sound of something collapsing, screams grew louder. It felt as if an earthquake had occurred. But, it wasn't an earthquake. Quark. An A-rank monster, a giant ogre, revealed its presence as it swung a massive club. With a body that was over 5 meters tall and bulging with muscular arms, it was a fearsome sight. The one eye symbolizing a mutation. Those eyes exactly. It was directed towards Taehyun.